See, people either run towards pleasure or they run away from pain. People run a lot faster away from pain. So you want to figure out what the big problem is and try to solve that.
Welcome to Stay Paid Insurance and Financial Marketing. Unlock the secrets of success in insurance and financial services, where each episode delivers valuable tips and strategies to elevate your marketing game and help you succeed in both life and business. Brought to you by Reminder Media. Welcome to Stay Paid Insurance and Financial Marketing. My name is Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree, and our guest today is Arturo Johnson. Arturo is a master in the world of lead generation, sales, and marketing. With a career spanning nearly a decade, he's a renowned expert, author, and dynamic speaker who has revolutionized the way insurance businesses approach lead generation and sales. And his insight and strategies have impacted countless financial professionals and organizations. Arturo, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys. Definitely happy to be here. Grateful and humbled by that amazing introduction. Hopefully I can live up to that and add some value today. I'm just happy to be here, man.
Oh, man, we're excited to have you. If you're anything like you were on the 8% stage, everybody get ready, get your notepads out, get your pens ready. You were just incredible. I got the chance to speak with you at 8% over the summer and was really impressed with what I had heard. And then now that I'm following you on social, watching some of your mastermind content and what you're doing. And then also some of your clients, I think, are some of ours, and they speak extremely highly of you. So I'd love to start with you just sharing. I know you were in the insurance business and were failing. I think you mentioned you almost got a divorce. Can you walk us through that transformation of, what was going on? You got into insurance. It wasn't working. What clicked? What made it turn around for you?
Yeah, man. So I initially got licensed back in 2004. I was waiting tables at the Hilton downtown Nashville at the time. And my friend came through the door, Miriam Mizera. She came through and she was in like a business suit. And I just loved the way everybody looked at her. And, normally we see her in her apron, but this one day it's just like something was different about her. She had her shoulders back. She looked like she had purpose. She looked like she was going somewhere. And that really attracted me to just be curious. And so lo and behold, we ended up going to a recruiting meeting and started out, got licensed to sell Aflac back then. And very interesting story. So December the 24th of 2004, went to go take the test. Didn't really study, just excited about life and a new opportunity. Drove to Chattanooga from Nashville, which is like 2.5, 3 hours from here, on a wing and a prayer. Took the test, failed the health portion, and passed the life portion.
Oh, wow.
And so in Tennessee, right? So in Tennessee, if you fail one part of the test, you got to wait 30 days before you can take it again, and you just got to pay the test. And after the third time, if you fail it, then you got to wait 1 year. So lo and behold, what happened is I'm supposed to be selling a health and accident, right? Because that's the primary thing that they offer, but I couldn't sell that. So I was like, well, I got this other piece. Can I sell that? So I was like, well, can I make money off of it? They're like, yeah. So I learned everything I could about life insurance. And so I kind of got thrust into that. And kind of a side note also, insurance has kind of been in my blood. So my mom used to always tell this story. She's got 6 brothers and sisters, and my grandfather, we called him Big Dad. Every time they would go to the movies on Friday, she always used to complain that he had to stop somewhere every time they were going to go to the drive-in back then, which is where you load up in the car, you put the speaker inside, You bring your snacks, and you can watch a movie on a projection screen outside. And lo and behold, I come to realize that my grandfather was a debit man. So whenever he had to stop to do that on Fridays, it was because he was picking up those premiums so that he could have a little money in his pocket to take his family out. So wow. So insurance has kind of always been in my blood. So I kind of dabbled in 2004. I was in and out. And again, like we talked about off camera, kind of wasting my youth, wasn't really focused, didn't really have the information that I have now, didn't see myself in that light the way I saw my friend. And I didn't take things serious. So I was in and out of insurance business, got back into working in a restaurant. And it wasn't until 2015 where I really was just kind of tired of the same old thing. So I got back into insurance again.
How old were you at this point when you got back in?
I was probably like 32, 33.
Okay.
Around there. Okay. I'm 40 now. And so, probably for like the first 9 months, man, it was just really hard. And I think one of the biggest challenges that was difficult for me was the company that I was with. The mentor told me that he was going to mentor me and show me exactly what I needed to do step by step. But one of the challenges is he was the top producer for his own agency also.
Okay.
So when it came time for me to need something, he couldn't because he needed to put numbers on the board. So he was trying to be the player's coach. And he was a great producer. He just wasn't the best mentor for what I needed at the time. I really needed somebody to sit me down and show me a strategic strategy, especially at the age of like 33. I wasn't just drinking the Kool-Aid and running blind. So lo and behold, I found myself frustrated, broke, and a lot of questions and no answers. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. I had a meeting with a Nashville police officer, and I had already drawn up the plan. It was the second meeting, and I was going to do a $6,000 case, $500 a month. I was super excited, had my upline there just to make sure, and the guy no-showed. And so I'm standing in the window, and I'm just like, man, I've had it. I've either got to figure this out. I need to go back and get a day job, or I need to go back to waiting tables or whatever it was. And at that moment, I had vowed that I was going to figure this out, and no other person that was in my shoes was ever going to have this same problem. I was going to solve it. And so that's what kind of transitioned me into coaching. So fast forward maybe 6 to 9 months, I went on this spree of just like learning and buying courses, and I figured out how to generate leads. But before then, what happened is I pulled out my phone and I went to Fisk University, and I was like, I wonder if I know some people that are high-level professionals. Right across the street is Meharry Medical College, and Meharry and Emory and Howard are the top 3 universities that probably produce 95% of African-American doctors in the U.S. So I was like, I'm pretty sure some of those people went to Fisk, or some of those people are in this program that I'm connected through someone else. And I just started doing the networking game, connecting with people, and I turned myself into the student loan doctor. And so that's how I was able to get these meetings, right? So there's a couple of things about doctors most people don't know if they haven't focused on that niche is doctors make a lot of money, they spend a lot of money, and they got a lot of debt. And so with that problem, I was like, I think I can network my way up. You see, I went to Fisk. There's probably still a few students in residency right now. But what I do know is that they have a strong mentorship program for doctors. So if somebody's in their senior year and that goes into residency, I know that they've got a mentor that just graduated and just started their own practice, and that person probably has somebody, and so on and so forth. You get the picture. So for me helping these young students with their student loans, because they're about to make $300,000, but they're going to have a lot of liabilities, I was able to sit with them and then prospect up to their mentors. At that point, man, I started meeting with doctors and dentists from MD Anderson Houston, doctors that were at the University of Michigan. I was like, man,
let me ask you a question on that, just because I'm curious. Like, you know, a lot of people understand the broad term of networking, but when you practically did it, like, what did it look like? Did you go to LinkedIn? Did you go to the one friend you have and ask them who's the doctor they know? Like, how did that practically take place?
That's a great question. So what I would do is the first thing I would do is try to get a meeting. So let's just say it's you.
Yeah.
I know that you're in your junior year, senior year, and you're about to go into residency. I would reach out to you and say, hey, have you started to think about what's going to happen when you graduate about paying down your student loans, right? Do you understand the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loans, right? The moment you take out a loan after undergrad, right, the interest starts to accumulate right away. So I position myself as an expert. Right. They have a huge problem. And if I'm somebody that can solve that, right, I turn myself into the term that I coined, which is I became the center of influence. Most people try to get the circle of influence. I try to turn people into the center of influence. And that's what I became, being a student loan doctor. So from there, I would message them. I would have a meeting. And it was very simple. I would just go on the government website, and you can pull out this form that these people can fill out. That's like a student loan forgiveness type form that they can fill out. And then I would go over a game plan with them for their budget. They would be happy. At the end, I would kind of show them some options for insurance, some term just to have on top. So I'd make a sale about, $100 a month, because they could afford that, especially if they were in residency. They were making about $5,000 a month from that fixed. And then I would ask them to, I would have a referral sheet that I would slide over, and I'd probably get 6 to 10 referrals of people who were actually in my ideal market.
Yeah, that's huge, man.
So that's what I would do. And so then I started working with those folks. And once you get, it's one of those things that you don't need to get everybody to like you. You need to get the key person to like you. And once you're in that circle for the key person that likes you, right, like you're in the door. So I did that. But the problem with that was very manual and unpredictable. So a lot of insurance agents, they model their business off of just getting referrals. And it does work. But the challenge with that is if I get 90 referrals every single month, if I got 90 referrals last month and get 90 referrals this month, that doesn't mean that the production is going to equate to the same. So the activity will be there, but that doesn't mean the production was there. So the next thing I did was I tried to figure out if there was a way that I could automate some of this. And so initially I started with LinkedIn, right? And I got this, there was this Chrome extension that ended up getting banned, but I was using that at the time. And then
those are always the best ones, the ones that get banned. You're like,
it worked
just
so
for,
well
yeah,
because
for
it
a
was
time
just
period.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It was working so well because it was just prospecting for me.
Was it sending messages for you and stuff?
Say that again.
Was it sending messages and stuff, like connecting with people and sending messages for you, or?
Yes. Yeah. So the first thing I would do is I would send a connection message.
Yeah.
Right. Then the next thing I would send a couple value messages to request a meeting. And that thing would be automated. So my wife always thought like I was doing something sketchy because my laptop would be open and she could see the AI working because you had to leave it open with the Chrome browser. And so it was working. And funny enough, it's amazing when you just have this belief in yourself and you really have good intentions. Things always tend to work out for you because that software got banned. But my very first consulting client had the actual software that I needed that I couldn't get because you had to get referred. You had to be a user and then you had to refer another user into it. It was called Ulink. And so I ended up, he had it and he didn't know how to use it because one of his other insurance partners gave it to him and he didn't know how to use it. But I had already been practicing with this other like sketchy software. So once I got in there, that's when the game changed because I made myself an account under his, and then that's where I kind of revolutionized my business. So I started with LinkedIn, but the challenge with LinkedIn is that they started to limit the amount of outreach that you could do.
Yeah.
Right. So it worked for a little bit. I think I probably had about 20 to 25 clients at that time.
Okay.
From an agency. And then it started to break just because they were getting limited and then the messages weren't going through.
Yep.
And then I think LinkedIn throttled all the way back to like 100 messages a week or a month or something crazy like that. So that whole thing.
I think it's even worse now. Like you have to pay for InMail.
It's like 30 now. Isn't
it? It's like even worse now. Yeah, you have to pay.
Well, I guess every time someone responds to you, you get that credit back.
Yeah,
it's like
Do you use to go down this tangent a little bit on LinkedIn because I think there's a lot of value that can be driven here. Are you still using LinkedIn at all today with your business?
I use LinkedIn more for recruiting and finding quality people.
Okay.
So what a lot of people don't really understand or remember about LinkedIn that makes it so powerful is that it's now a business networking platform. But before it was a job search.
Correct.
So a lot of these big companies put all of their information on there and everybody else put their information on there. So the average income of people on there is like 85,000 or something like that. And
Nice.
Most people got a minimum of 4-year or MBA. So if you're looking to try to find like high quality people, it's really good, but it's concentrated, right? It's high quality, low quantity. That makes sense. And so that's kind of where I was like, okay, this is working, but I need to find a faster vehicle. And so I was like, oh, well, I purchased these courses. I wonder if I can apply these messages in some way online. So that's where I had to learn direct response copywriting, right?
Okay.
So that's what I transitioned into using Facebook advertising. Because Facebook at that time had like 2 billion active users on a daily basis. So I was like, oh, well, if I can figure out what message resonates with this market over here, translates to Facebook, and then there's 2 billion active users on it, like the rest is kind of history. So that's how I transitioned into the full-time coaching. Once I cracked that code, the consulting business kind of took off.
I love it. Well, talk to us a little bit about like like Facebook ads in general? Like, where are you seeing the success with Facebook ads right now? And when you look at the ads, like, is it the copy? Is it the imagery? Is it the audience? Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of each piece, but can you walk us through like your methodology and what you're thinking about Facebook ads right now?
Yeah. So most people kind of look at it in an isolated kind of scenario, but they're all kind of linked together. So you need to make sure that you have the right messaging. Well, first and foremost, you need to make sure you got the right audience first. See, what most people do, especially like starting out in insurance, is they just try to help everybody. But online, if you're trying to talk to everyone, you're really talking to no one. Mm-hmm. So the first thing you got to do is you got to pick a specific group of people that have a problem, a big problem that you can solve, and you want to be speaking specifically to that pain, right? And so on Facebook, it's really easy to find these people, but most people do it very granular. So they're looking for the title. So what I mean by that is the target is probably the most important and it's really easy, but people complicate it. So they like stacking all of these things and the age and like all of that. But I'll give you an example. So when I grew up, I was born in 1983. So from 1983 to 2001, I was in South Side of Chicago. Growing up there, all the people that were in my network or my friends and everything, guess where they were? On the South Side of Chicago. I was bound by my geolocation, right? Now with online, people are not bound by location. Guess what they're bound by? The things that they're interested in. So what you have to do is you have to pinpoint the things that people are interested in. That's the clusters for Facebook. Mm-hmm. That's how we blend together. We transcend the physical location and we're now bound by our interest. So if you can figure out, if you can crack the code of the thing that your ideal audience is interested in, then that's where the game changer happens.
Where are you, like for your clientele, where are you focused? Like, is it health and life? Is it Medicare? Is it property casualty? Like, where are you helping your clients focus wise?
Yeah. So for the typical client that I'm working with is life insurance agents.
Okay, life insurance agents. And so everybody needs life insurance. So how do you go about thinking about that audience?
Yeah, so typically, again, we need to start with the problem, right? What's the problem that people have and figure out how we solve that. So you really you got to niche down.
Okay.
And so we kind of niche down to a couple markets, whether it's veterans, whether it's business professionals, whatever it is, like that part is irrelevant, but you've got to figure out what the problem is and you got to talk to the problem. See, people either run towards pleasure or they run away from pain. People run a lot faster away from pain. So you want to figure out what the big problem is and try to solve that. And over time, it's an iterative process. There's no magic to it, right? It's just an iterative process. Over time, you pick the niche, right? It's niche offer result. That's kind of the formula. It's a scientific method, and you just keep iterating it over and over and over again until you get it right. And so it just takes time. But since I've been, doing this for a while, like I've already done all the iterations. I'm spending all the millions of dollars on Facebook advertising. So I kind of know exactly what those specific niches are. And then for the clients that we work, we just kind of suggest a couple of those markets in general. And the reason why that's important is because you really want to have a focus. When you're seen as an expert, business and opportunities tend to just come to you. Right. You ever seen somebody online, right? Like 1 minute they're doing drop shipping. Another thing they're doing multi-level marketing.
Oh, I see it all the time. Yeah.
Yes. You know what I mean? And you may like the character, you may vibe with them, but there's just the thing that human beings have this reservation about inconsistency. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agree.
And so when that happens, that makes people uncomfortable, which is a sign of risk that we don't take. So the first thing I try to get people to do is to see themselves as an expert, as a specialist, that they're the go-to person in whatever niche or market they're in, right? Because the person who is the expert, right, they get the majority of the shares, right?
So when you say niche, sorry, Josh, I'm asking all the questions, but it's like, to kind of go down on that, are you finding most of the success, like you mentioned when you said veterans, like that sparked something for me of like, would you tell our audience, say, you got to realize like who you're serving from the perspective of like demographic information or characteristics about them? Like, hey, I serve the elderly people. that are 65 years old that used to work at Ford, like that type of niche? Or is it
gotcha.
okay? Like,
Yeah, it's a great question. So that's a little too granular. What you want to do is you want to think about it again, like groups of people, right?
okay.
So, for example, we kind of do this. What's the word for it? We kind of do this exercise where a lot of times it's the careers or the job opportunities that you had before, right?
Okay.
So we want to focus on the skills that you already have, the knowledge that you already have, and then maybe some past experiences that you had. Because what happens is in there, if this was like a Venn diagram, there's a certain affinity to those people. And what happens is, again, we talked about consistency. So if you were a veteran and you're saying, hey, veterans, right, and you got your Army hat or whatever it on, and I'm a veteran also, when I see that, you and Josh could both be promoting the same thing, but guess who I'm going to focus on and listen to?
Yeah. Got it.
So you want to have that affinity. That just automatically online builds trust. That doesn't mean that Josh may not do the better job, but we're trying to appeal to a human nature, right? Mm-hmm. And so we want to use affinity in that nature. And then there's probably some internal or inner language that you would use that I would understand, that would make me at ease, that I would feel like you understand my position and the shoes that I'm in. And the truth of the matter is when people feel like you know their problems, they automatically feel like you got the solution.
Yeah. Do you do anything in terms of like the quality of leads? I know in our advertising, we work with real estate agents, insurance agents, financial advisors. A lot of times we'll call out specifically, hey, real estate agents, because we'll get other industries that might not be able to work with our product as well. Do you do similar things, or how qualified are your leads coming in? Like, what's kind of your conversion rates in terms of quality?
Yeah, so we use the same process. We have just dialed in, just focusing on a specific niche. So I've got a whole agency that we only focus on one niche. Like we're just dialed in. So, it's like the one thing, right? From Gary Keller. So we just we just take that one niche to the max, right? And so in regards to the headlines or the advertising, right? So when I'm only doing one thing, that allows me to test multiple things to come up with the best variable. And in human nature, right? Just like human beings, there's almost 8 billion people on the planet. What happens in that is things evolve, just like in Facebook, because it's an evolutionary science to where they're able to pick people, is there's outliers. So when we test a broad sample of things for one niche, guess what ends up happening? We find these outliers that we can then take it to the max and go from spending $50 to $100 a day to spending upwards to $10,000 per day.
Jeez.
without losing the quality, because that's an outlier, right? And that gives you the kind of the competitive advantage, right? People seeing those things over and over again. And then Facebook is a bid auction. So even if you went through the Facebook ads library and just completely copied my exact ad, the headline, everything, the images, stole it all, you're only spending $100 a day. I'm spending $10,000 a day. It's impossible for you to win because I'm bidding higher, so my ads are going to get seen before yours.
What should an agent expect to pay for a lead on Facebook running that way?
So one of the things that I don't really focus on is the cost per lead. So one of the things that most agents misunderstand is that the cost per lead is only relative to the ROLS, which is the return on lead spend. The most important metrics when the most important metric when doing Facebook advertising is only one metric, and that is ROI. If you're spending $50 per lead, but you're writing a 2, 3, 5, 10x, what difference does it make? All that means is every time you give Facebook $1, it gives you back $5. It doesn't matter if it's in the form of 50 or 1,000. So at the end of the day, this is what I'm saying. All of these things are connected. It just isn't the cost per lead. Yep. It's the quality of the lead. It's the reception. Did they auto book themselves? What was the type of qualification that you were able to serve them, offer them, and the type at the end of the day, the type of insurance that you were able to get them, and how much was the premium? So if you're able to spend $20 on the lead, just say $20 on the lead, and you're able to write a $2,000 insurance policy, it's a pretty good return. What difference does it make how much the lead costs?
Is your call to action always get a quote, or have you tested a bunch of different ones?
I always just learn more.
Okay.
Right? You just leave it open. Because the thing is you want people to feel like they have the choice to decide.
That's smart.
All right.
Do you find video ads do better than image and copy, or have you seen any difference between the two?
Yeah, so we kind of go, it goes back and forth. The one thing about Facebook is it's not just a set it and forget it. It's an iterative process, right? So Facebook is in the business of making money. So if you put up one winning ad and it just runs all the time, guess what? Facebook isn't making money, right? The cost of the leads eventually ends up going up for a reason, because Facebook is in the business of making money. So you need to have multiple variables, right? Because they really kind of use like the science and evolution type deal. So one of the biggest things that I learned is that like the way that Facebook targets your ideal customer. So let's say we just started out, we put one together, and what Facebook does is the first thing they start us with the clicks, right? And what they do is it's called propagation. So the first person that clicks, right? Remember, I told you that interest is the most important thing. They try to find other similarities in the person who clicked to try to find other people like that. And so they go 1 and 2 and it propagates. So that's why it takes a little bit of time. And the reason why it's important is because if you use videos will be absolutely amazing in the beginning, but the cost starts to go up and the ads fatigue a lot faster. Now with images, the thing about images is you can use the exact same copy and you can just swap out the images really easy. And it's easy to deploy, especially when you're testing.
Yeah.
So you can put out a lot of samples and iterations. Facebook likes variation 100%. So you always want to be testing with a minimum of 3 to 5 different angles and images and copy at the same time, because it's kind of like the survival of the fittest, if that makes sense. And the crazy thing about it is you need to give Facebook a broad audience and multiple variables, and Facebook will do the rest. So, in long story short, it all depends, and it's not just a one size fits all. You have to have some videos and some images, and you have to keep refreshing it over time because those things just fatigue.
Agree. Yeah.
So learn more. Does that take them to a landing page, or does that bring up a lead form?
It brings up a lead form. So
okay.
What I try to do is I try to like simplify everything. Yeah. What is the action that we want people to take?
Yep.
Right. So if I'm with the top agent, right, this person is probably one of the most successful people I'm going to work with, which is probably the best person with the highest level of skill set. You know what I need to do? I don't need to be the Seattle Seahawks on 4th and 1 in the goal line and try to throw it to the wide receiver. I need to hand the ball off, put it in the gutter beast mode. So the faster that I can get the highest quality lead in the shortest amount of time to the top producer, good things are always going to happen.
Yeah, smart. I was at that game, just a tangent thought. I was at the Super Bowl when they did that.
Oh my gosh.
And the whole stadium was screaming, "Feed the beast."
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy, man. Like, the whole stadium was screaming, "Feed the beast," and they threw it and it was intercepted. And like, you just felt not only the anger, just the complete like depression of the Seahawks.
They still haven't get like the players. They still have this void in their hearts by like, that's just one of the moments where you can overthink and get in your own way. That was just like, just hand it off, dude.
Awesome. Crazy. What's a normal conversion rate that you see? 1%, 2%?
So like for a lead, for an ad, like
for a lead, like across your ecosystem. I know it's you can never be, because you're a true marketer, so it's always depending on the campaign and depending on the person. But like across the ecosystem, I think like Facebook ads, like if we took real estate as a counter example, or another example, I should say, you're going to see usually around a 2 to 3% conversion rate from real estate ads that generate buyer leads. You're going to see about 2 to 3% of those turn into a deal 8 to 12 months later. Do you have any guidance for people on that to know? Because my thought process is this: if I'm an agent right now running ads and making my calls and doing that, how do I know if I'm doing okay?
Yeah. So the way that you're going to know that you're doing okay is number one, what most agents don't do is you need to have proper tracking, right? Because everything is connected and everything influences everything. So the clicks affect the CPM, which affects the CTR, right? Which affects the amount of leads, which then affects the cost per lead. And then the ultimate version that needs to be tracked is off of Facebook, which is your lead conversion rate to a sale, which you need to track. And you need to be reviewing this on a weekly and a monthly basis. Because again, when you're looking granular, you're missing the big picture, which is it doesn't matter how much you're spending on the cost per lead. It matters it matters everything. How much you're spending, which is the first caveat. Number one, most agents who aren't running ads, they like, oh, Facebook ads don't work. Here's the biggest problem that most insurance agents have is they don't even know how much their lead spend expense is every single month because they've got their direct mailers over here with their bank account and it's coming out over here. They got their card over here. They get this 20% QR card. So most months they don't even know how much they're going to spend or how much they're going to get charged in a month. So it makes it hard for them to even understand, if they're even making an ROI because it's coming in and going out so fast. So the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out what you're willing to spend and invest. And the successful people that I work with are spending a minimum or allocating a minimum or willing to spend a minimum of $1,000, or they're willing to commit 20% of what they want to make. So if you want to make 100 grand in a month, you need to be willing to spend 20K. And the reason why I say that is because you don't want to gamble for this. This is your business. So you want to make sure that you have enough opportunities to guarantee your own success.
Agree.
See, with us, we don't really focus on leads, right? We're operating with opportunities. See, when you got opportunities, that allows you chances to have a lot of success. Most agents are just going after the lead count. What you need to focus on is making sure that you have quality opportunities. And if you just have leads, that's probably a high probability that there's a low chance of opportunity because a lot of times people aren't receptive. They aren't open. They didn't fill it out. They have been bombarded by multiple people. So going back to the original question, which is you need to make sure that your return is there because you can reverse engineer everything else. But on average, conversion rates, like one of the guys in our program, I think he had a 40% show up rate.
Okay.
Right. So 60% of the people didn't show up and he still wrote 500,000 this year.
Jeez.
And probably 8 months, 9 months. I don't know. This is month 10. I think last month he qualified for the Hall of Fame.
Jeez.
So he wrote about 400, 800. So again, if you can figure out the quality part and the targeting and you're able to really produce, right? Like the cost per lead isn't relevant. And another thing, online, the best thing about doing online advertising for insurance agents is the no-show rate can be neutralized by the throughput. Yes. See, you can scale through that you have so many appointments on your calendar. It doesn't matter who shows up. The law of averages are so in your favor. We have this thing called you're too busy to fail. You got 20 to 30 appointments on a daily basis that it doesn't matter who shows up. In fact, sometimes you hoping somebody doesn't so you can go to the restroom so you can grab a quick sandwich that you're going to write 1 to 3 policies. And if you're writing 1 to 3 and it's between 1 and 5K per case, like what difference does it make?
Yeah, no, I love that mentality.
Well
Arturo,
said.
talk about your consulting company, what can people expect when they work with you? I see you've got Rainmaker Secrets in the background. Not sure if that's something you're promoting right now, but talk about that.
Yeah, so a Rainmaker is just an identity where, when you think about a Rainmaker as an identity, who is that? It's somebody that when they come into a space, they change the environment. They make it rain, right? And so that's the mindset that we come in. We want to be unstoppable force. And so that's the mindset that we take on as a Rainmaker. We want to influence, we want to impact, and we want to affect every conversation that we have. So anybody that's working with myself, my team, because it's not just me, right? In fact, I give more of the credit to my team than it is me. I'm kind of just the face, but we have an incredible team. And there's a couple core values that we have is number one is your word is your bond. I will never tell you something that I'm not going to do. I always follow up with that. In our business, there's a lot of empty promises and a lot of promises that are overshot that never come to fruition. Right. And I have this thing is people always like, well, what's your expectation? My expectations is what you said you were going to do. So tell me what you're going to do. And that's what I'm going to expect from you. And so whatever it is, that's kind of what we do, which is the integrity piece. Then the other piece is authenticity, right? What you see is what you get. And then 3 is it's you can feel the customer obsession, that we care just as much, and maybe even more about your business as you do. And to a fault, sometimes we're overly invested because we want to give insurance agents the best opportunity to have success.
Awesome, man.
Tell
people before we close out here, tell people how they can connect with you then.
Yeah, so it's very, very simple. I would just go to my Instagram, Arturo Johnson Consulting. That way you can connect with me. You can engage with some of my free content as we continue to grow and share some value. I think right now, my account's just going viral. I like in January, I had 1,100 followers. Right now, I'm probably at 80,000.
Crazy, man.
And
That's
in the
insane.
last 30 days, 70 million people have viewed my account. The algorithm is just taking over. So that's just a testament to being consistent.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Every single day.
Man, we should have interviewed you on how you did that.
Say that
Love
again.
it. I said we should have interviewed you on how you did that. Next time.
Consistency. That's one of the things that putting in the work, showing up every single day, regardless of the result. Right. And then what happens is over time, it's like the things that's supposed to work out for you. When you set out to do something, you got the right intentions, right? And you're looking to serve and to help people, it always works out for you. And so that's pretty much what I did. I didn't do anything fancy, right? I showed up every single day online, and in this space, it's not the person who knows the most, it's the person who shows up the most.
Yeah, love
it.
that.
Good message. Great story. Thank you again, Arturo. And thank you all for listening. You can dive deeper into this episode, get the links that Arturo mentioned over at staypaidpodcast.com, along with the show notes for this video and show notes for this episode and the video. And if you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review. And the best way to support the show is simply to share the podcast with someone that you know. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram as well. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. And here's the thing, right? Because I love what he was saying. Hey, man, it's not those who know the most, it's those who show up the most. And he just gave you a golden nugget on this podcast of really finding your niche and finding the things that maybe the exercise I believe you gave, Arturo, was write down what you did in the past, whether you were a teacher, a nurse, what was your thing that you did. And you have a natural connection with those people. And that could be a niche for you. And he used the example of being a veteran. My challenge to you, the action item for this podcast, is to sit down and take a second and actually write down on a piece of paper, who is your target audience? What is the niche that you're going after? Because Facebook ads won't serve you. Direct mail won't serve you. You won't be able to even sell as good as you could sell if you don't know who you're targeting. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every industry is top producers take action. Take action on that today.